See you.
Hello,
Well, thanks for
how
joining
are
us.
you?
Thanks for joining us. My name is
Great,
Jasper with
great to be
Score. I'm joined by Corey Daigle of WanderWeb. We're here today for Corey to present on e-commerce essentials. In this, day and age of running a business that sells a product, e-commerce is one of the biggest, ways to get your product out there. If you didn't know about us here at SCORE, we're a resource partner of the Small Business Administration, and we help businesses from pre-start to exit, any stage of the business cycle. We're here to help. Um, and I do believe we will be taking questions today. If you have any, feel free to queue them up in the chat or utilize the raise hand function. Now, there's a little smaller turnout today. If you do happen to have to dip out early, we are recording and we'll be sending this recording to all registrants. And other than that, Corey, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Jasper. I really appreciate the opportunity today. All right, so today we're going to talk about the essentials of selling online. Welcome to WanderWeb. So today we'll cover the most effective e-commerce strategies, how to manage online stores, how to choose the right payment for your specific situations, and showcase your products in a way that makes them sell. And we wouldn't be WonderWeb if we didn't talk about a little bit of SEO. So we're adding that to the end. If you're looking to learn a little bit about how you can optimize your website for search, we'll cover some of the basics. So as Jasper said, my name is Corey. I founded WonderWeb in 2019. We specialize in websites and search optimization for small to mid-sized businesses that really depend on local customers and foot traffic. So specifically businesses that cover a region. I started my business with the help of SCORE and Maine Small Business Development Center. And during COVID, I did serve as a digital marketing advisor for SBDC. So our mission is to help businesses grow, and this is part of our way of giving back. Prior to starting my business in 2019, I worked as a registered nurse in healthcare for 20 years, and I specialized in analytics and outcome improvement. So tech can be super overwhelming. My hope is by the end of today, you'll have some great ideas on how to grow your business using some tools that you already have. And maybe I can introduce you to some different tools that you don't know about or have access to currently that are no cost or low cost. So e-commerce is great for multiple reasons. When you're first starting out, e-commerce allows you to do a lot of testing, avoiding the upfront cost and investment that traditional retail sites tend to incur, like physical storefront, having on-site inventory and payroll for staff. E-commerce in Maine in particular, I like to bring up that it makes offering a niche service or product even easier because you have a broader audience. And so you can offer things that maybe based on foot traffic you wouldn't sell a lot of, but there is a need with a greater audience over a larger with a larger audience online. So in just some numbers, because our analytics and process improvement background, the use of digital channels keeps increasing, and 87% of consumers will research products online before making a purchase. They'll also be reading reviews about those products, and so we'll talk about some of the ways that you can optimize your presence for that. So let's start with the basics, and that is how you get paid as an e-commerce vendor. The thing to start with is a customer would buy a product online. The transaction will go to your payment aggregator and to you once you've confirmed this purchase and either delivered it or sent it digitally, then you receive payment. Super simple, right? Sounds simple. Credit card processing fees, just so you know, often for online payments, you have to take credit card payments, and what you can anticipate is 2.9% of the cost of the transaction plus 30 cents per transaction. That's typical for credit card fees. There are multiple solutions that you can use for taking payments. There isn't really a one-size-fits-all solution. It depends on how you run your business. Selecting the right payment for you involves considering the cost of your products and how many different options that you're offering, the integrations that your software has or can have, the number and type of products that you sell, how you sell them, how you deliver them, and if you have a customer relationship management software, so what you have access to. All of those things lead into what processing payment portal you'll decide to use, and we'll talk about some of the options and then real life situations to help you decide which one is right for you. So the first option we're going to discuss today is something called payment aggregators. Payment aggregators make it easy because you don't have to go through a bank directly. And some that you might be familiar with are PayPal, Stripe, and Square. Let's talk about the pros and cons of these payment aggregators. To define what a payment aggregator is they basically get all your payments, consolidate them, and pay them to you in a lump fee every few days or whatever your workflow is. They're really simple and easy to set up. You do pay a transaction for use. That 2.9 plus 3% is standard. Sorry, 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction is standard. It's an instant solution. So within a couple days, you can have your store up and running, and they're all free to sign up for. It's easy to activate the account by just verifying some deposits, and you're good to go. So there's some great things about aggregators. They can get expensive, though, and one of the drawbacks specifically for payment aggregators is they can hold or freeze your account for suspicious activity without warning. So you might ask what specific suspicious activity I'm referring to. These are the common ones. So the common reasons why payment aggregators would freeze accounts include like the red flags of all of a sudden you have a spike in volume or revenue. So at the beginning of when you apply for these aggregators, they'll ask you to give them an estimate of what you would expect to be receiving a day or a week or a monthly. And so say right now your monthly gross is around $2,000. If all of a sudden your monthly income changes to $100,000, right? They would freeze your account. You can mitigate this by letting the payment aggregator know you're expecting or anticipating a change in your business. So you would have to let them know in advance, but without reason, they would immediately freeze your account. The other reason they would freeze accounts, or these aggregators like PayPal would freeze accounts, is if you're not selling what you say you're selling, or if you're selling something illegal. So the best way to prevent any of this is to let your aggregator know, PayPal, Square, all of them, that as early as possible about changes that you're maybe affecting your product and service line or your revenue stream. The other option for payment, so we talked about aggregators that you don't go through a bank. The other option is merchant or bank merchant accounts. These are dedicated accounts for processing that you would get through a bank. There's no middleman like the aggregator. The cost is often lower, generally around 2 to 2.5% plus a fixed monthly fee that typically ranges, as of the time I checked this, it was between $5 and $50, but I wouldn't be surprised if average ranges for monthly fees are higher now. The cons of merchant accounts it's a really complex application process. So if any of you have gone through a mortgaging process, it's very similar. So the application process is lengthy and although the costs are low, the application process is very complex. So how do you choose? I often recommend to businesses that they start with an aggregator just because it's quick, and then move on to a merchant account after they've gotten themselves established. There is a customer threshold that that I do recommend, a payment threshold that I do recommend. So how do you decide? So these are some specific examples. Say you're selling low-cost items that have a lot of transactions. So I would give the example of candy bars, right? So if you're selling 100 candy bars, you're going to be paying an aggregator 30 cents per transaction. So your cost of goods is much higher than if you had a merchant account, right? Where you don't really have that 30 cents per transaction and you pay the lower percentage. So that's a leader in, if you're selling a lot of low cost goods, you would want to move towards a merchant account relatively quickly. The other is, if, remember I said there's a volume that I recommend to switch to merchant accounts. If you're processing more than $500 in online sales, 5,000, pardon, in online sales or credit card payments, then I would recommend that you consider transitioning to a merchant account, because at that point you've got a break even and it starts to be less costly to use a merchant account. So anything above $5,000 in online payments, you want to think about a merchant account or a bank. As far as aggregators go, I'd like to just dig a little deeper into some of the more common aggregators that are out there, and so that you can pick the right one for your business. The big three is Square, Stripe, and PayPal. A lot of the benefits of PayPal is a lot of people have PayPal. It's a really user-friendly interface for payment. It's a great way to get started for businesses. And PayPal is the owner of Venmo. And so if you're using PayPal, often Venmo will tie into it in some sort of application. So PayPal is a great way to get started, especially if you're taking online payments. Stripe is another online payment processor that works really well for businesses taking payment online. There's some great benefits to it. It can be customized to look how you want it to look in your invoices and receipts, meaning that when you're invoicing your customers, there's not a Stripe logo on it as there would be with PayPal. It can be your own specific branding and logoing on your invoices and receipts. It's available on pretty much every online platform. Shopify in particular uses Stripe as their go-to payment processor. And what I really like about Stripe is that it allows for recurring payments. So if you're a subscription type business, or you've got, say, sending out products like a monthly box or something, you can do an automatic invoice every month that just recurs. Stripe also allows for ACH payments or online checks, direct bank transfers, which can be a lower cost for you as a vendor. The other payment aggregator that's really common and has some great benefits is Square. It is a little bit expensive, but the software works really good for point of sale. So if you're selling at farmers markets, or even say a hairdresser, and you're taking payments right there, Square is a really great payment processor for you. You also get a free mobile phone reader when you sign up for it, which is great for click to pay, for tap. Some of the other payment options that you'll see out there: Google Pay, Apple Pay, Amazon Pay, and Venmo. Please note, just as an aside, that even though you already have a Venmo account, you do have to get a vendor Venmo account for business. And there's some accounting rules around the volume that you can get through your personal account. So make sure if you're using Venmo that you're getting a business Venmo account. Amazon Pay is great for if you're online only, or you're selling online in particular for some specific products, because it interfaces without people having to put in their username and password, similar to PayPal. A lot of people have PayPal. A lot of people also have an Amazon account. So it just charges through the Amazon account payment portal. I really like that one. It's not as common. It's great if your customer base is Amazon forward. And I did mention ACH or online checks when we were talking about Stripe. And these are referred to as e-checks. They can save you a lot of fees. It is limited right now to Stripe and Braintree. The drawback is it's not a great customer experience. And my thought and professional opinion is that at the point of sale, you really want to decrease friction as much as possible because it's so easy for a buyer to back out, especially when they're online, or to X out and leave their cart abandoned. So customers with ACH will have to type in their routing and account number, which equals a poor user experience, right? It is great for some service-based businesses that sell large amounts or high-ticket services. They can use ACH, and customers are a little bit more open to it for high-ticket one-time fees. And I just referred to customer experience, so I'd like to dig deeper into that. When you're thinking about sales, you should really be streamlining the checkout process. As far as you can, minimize the steps and any friction in the checkout process so that you can encourage conversions. And if you have the opportunity to allow for a guest checkout with someone not having to enter all of their information to create an account, that is ideal. If customers want to create an account, they will. If they don't, you might lose the sale, right? And so just a thought there about making the checkout process as seamless as possible. The other things that you'll want to do right at checkout is give indicators of trust. So it's really important for your website to have a security certificate, that little lock that's up there by the Google URL in the upper left-hand corner of the search bar of a website. That's really important. The other thing is to show indicators, like even just images of badges of security and guarantees. That's really important for guest checkout. My advice is to always also offer multiple payment options. So again, customer experience at close is your top priority. So make it possible for your customer to purchase as easily as possible, right? They can do two. I always say this, and if you've worked with me before, you've heard me say this. You get one click, and it's either buy or the X up in the right-hand corner. Those are, you get that, those are your options, right? And so you really want to lead them through that journey of sale. The general rule of thumb is to offer more than one payment option. So what I like to see is often like credit card and PayPal or credit card and Venmo as suggestions. Those would be my picks to combine those two together. With Stripe, they've got the credit card option. You could always add in Venmo or PayPal as another option as well. Also, if you are doing a physical delivery of a product, having your shipping policies and return policies very visible and available to customers. You want to make those easy to understand and as transparent as possible. I mentioned the security certificate, and this is that little lock over here that I talked about up in the search bar. So you want to demonstrate that your site is secure with having a security certificate on your website, and as well as badges at point of checkout. And like I said, those can just be images that you insert into the point of checkout to show that you have security in place. Credit card fees can really, really eat into your profits as a business owner. When you're thinking about 3% of your transactions, essentially, that really can add up. So you might be asking yourself, okay, well, I want to pass that on to the customer and have them pay the credit card fee. I have some advice around that. You can charge customers the credit card fees, but you have to let them know you're doing it, right? Legally, you have to let them know you're doing it. So it has to be labeled as a convenience fee. There's some other ways that you can do this. So the first thing you could do is set a minimum amount to spend on your credit card. You'll see that a lot overseas in Europe. when you're charging customers, if you are charging them for the credit card processing, you can't charge more than the cost to process. And if the customer does request a refund, you have to refund that as well. So my advice is to beware and avoid. It is becoming more common that you pay a fee to use your credit card. It's still not a great user experience. And so if you're looking between two businesses and one is charging you a fee to purchase something and one is not, it's very likely you'll go to the business that isn't charging the fee, even though this is becoming more common. Customers do not respond well to paying fees to buy from you. So definitely do a cost benefit analysis of how much you would be saving and how many sales you would lose, right? The best practice that I recommend is to bury the cost of credit card processing in your cost of goods. All right, so if you need to increase the pricing of your products, that's my recommendation. Before we go on, are there any questions about payment processors, aggregators, credit card utilization, or if you have a really specific situation you would like me to give you a recommendation on, I would be happy to do that. You can either raise your hand or drop it in the chat. Okay, if that comes up later, just let me know, I'll carry on. So let's talk about the different platforms that you could use for your online store. The first platform we'll discuss today is Wix. Wix is good. It does have an e-commerce hosting plan, which you do have to pay a monthly fee for, which essentially is the cost of hosting and offering your site up, right? Wix does have its own payment processor built in, which is decent for simple processing, but you can add in lots of other payment processor options. So everything can be added in sort of like an application on your phone. So Wix has some customer experience benefits and drawbacks. Wix, a lot of these are great for if they're looking on mobile or on a desktop, but not a great tablet experience. Squarespace is another option. Last time I checked, it cost around $26 a month to have a commerce site on Squarespace. It uses Stripe, which, as we talked about, does both ACH or checks and credit card processing. There's a PayPal integration that will allow for Venmo, and Square is available as well. Squarespace is great if you really like the design that you picked in Squarespace, but there is no modifying that design. The limitations in Squarespace are significant for design. And so if you're really happy building out what they've created already, this can be really tricky with your images because your images have to exactly fit the size of the design. Squarespace is a good pick. It's super easy to use. But there are some drawbacks if you want any customizations. I don't recommend Square. So Square, of all of these, are probably my lowest recommendation. Wix is okay for online commerce. Shopify is another one. And if you're looking for a DIY solution, Shopify is probably the most user-friendly, and it is designed for e-commerce specifically. So if you're thinking about the three and you haven't started yet, I would definitely recommend you look into Shopify. But my advice, if you're a DIYer, is the platform that you know how to use is the best platform for you, right? Shopify, like I said, it's specifically built for online sales. Payments are easy. Hosting is inexpensive as compared to the other sites options as well. And it's just a really seamless user experience for sales, simply because every theme built in Shopify is built around commerce. So I do like Shopify if you're a DIYer. The gold standard, in my opinion, is WordPress. It uses an online application plugin, like an application on your phone called WooCommerce. It's great for businesses of any size. So no matter how big you grow, WooCommerce will always fit your needs, and so will WordPress. The drawback is you probably are going to need professional developer support somewhere along the line. WordPress is super economical, hosting can be almost free, and WordPress can do anything. The difference between WordPress and some of these other sites is it's less of a DIY setup, although there are some plugins that make it look like a DIY setup. And you do have to get external hosting for WordPress, meaning you need to find a server to put your website onto, pay a specific server fee. But the use of WordPress itself is free. With that in mind, are there any questions about platforms for selling online? And if you do come up with one, you can ask at a later time. We'll have a question and answer at the end. And if you're looking for specific recommendations, I'm happy to give you one. So when you're designing your e-commerce workflow, always consider user experience. And here's some of the things that I recommend as sort of a checklist that you should check on your site to make sure you have it. The first is it easy to buy? Minimal clicks, lots of reassurance along the way, and really offer options so that customers can pick the payment processor that they choose. Add social proof. And what do I mean by that? Social proof are your testimonials and your reviews. So your product reviews and star ratings, or people talking about the results they've gotten from your product. Testimonials and reviews are becoming even more important in this AI world. And by that, what I mean is when these learned language model, which are almost like search engines, do research or scan the web, they're looking for more complex information than, say, Google is right now, although Google is rolling out their own AI with Gemini. So within your social proof, I do recommend that talking about your product, the change it made, the solution it provided, etc., querying for your testimonials and reviews, asking for them in a way that makes people answer with those answers is really important. So just be a little bit more, think more critically about your reviews. It's not just like the 5 stars on Google anymore. People really, these AI search engines and people are really looking for solutions and problems that have been solved. The other thing is address objections. So as you learn your business, you're going to learn about things that your customers or clients are concerned about at the point of sale or about your product or service. And so I really love frequently asked questions to address any objections or answer questions in advance. Frequently asked questions are another way that these search engines can query your website and maybe make recommendations for specific queries. And what I mean is, by these specific AI queries, if any of you have used AI, I think that it's very rare that people haven't at this point or encountered it in some way. So before in Google, people would type in like best chair for, best chair for camping, right? And now people are typing in, I want to go camping and bring my 3 children, and one of them has a broken leg. What's the best chair? So those query-based inquiries are very different than what we've always been optimizing for in search. So it's a really unique way of figuring out your customers at this point and what solutions you provide. Make sure that you're starting to think that way. This is a really advanced concept, but it is important if you want to be ahead of the game for what's coming down the pike. So looking forward is really important when it comes to queries at this point in your FAQs and your reviews and the content on your website. Also make your customer feel really good about the purchase, like, hey, you're awesome, or your purchase just saved 3 sea turtles, or something like that, whatever it is that you do. So I do see on websites, say, for example, we donate 5% of profits to sea turtles in Tampa, right? Whatever. I don't even know if Tampa is coastal, honestly. I'm from Canada, so but instead of that, what I would like you to do is flip it to make the customer the hero and say, proceeds from your purchase will help sea turtles in Tampa, right? Or save 3 sea turtles, or whatever it is that they'll be doing, or what you've set up. they're the hero in this. They're the one making the purchase, so make them feel really good. Another thing that I don't want you to forget is to have an abandoned cart follow-up process. So you're going to see an average of 70% of people, and that's an average, abandon cart, meaning they'll load up their cart with an item or multiple items and then not make a purchase. So sending out a reminder email in an automated way is a great option for your business to help with abandoned cart recovery. Some businesses choose to send out a discount with their abandoned cart email. Some people don't. Whatever way you choose to handle it, just definitely do a cost benefit analysis of if you are offering a discount, what the benefits of that would be for increasing the purchase versus the cost of goods. And you can always work with your score mentor or your advisor to figure out what that threshold is. So one of the things that we work with clients on is, say the average purchase in a cart is $40. And so at that point, I'd say, well, what if we offer free shipping at 50? What's the anticipated purchase that they would make? How much would it bump you up? And then what would your cost of including the shipping be subtracted from that? And decide if it's worth offering that free shipping or not. Free shipping is just an example. You can also consider discounts, et cetera, et cetera. But be very strategic about the level at which your customers get these discounts or free shipping. Okay. I did want to there's always service-based businesses out there or product-based businesses that also offer a service. So I wanted to talk about some of the options that you have as a service-based business. And I'll just quickly go through these for invoicing. So for service-based businesses, you can invoice with QuickBooks. There's some other processing out there for accounting called Xero or Wave. QuickBooks has the least functionality, although they are improving their entrepreneurial area of QuickBooks. I find that like Xero and Wave were built for entrepreneurs, and so it was really a user-friendly interface for us doing the work. In QuickBooks, it always was way less functional, but they are working on that now. The benefit of QuickBooks, it is a standard for accounting in the business world. So if you're ever looking to sell or get funding for your business, having things in QuickBooks is sort of like the language that these businesses speak. Xero is an alternative to QuickBooks. It connects to Stripe. It has some better reporting for entrepreneurs. And Wave is another option. It's free. It has its own software that will do recurring invoices, and it's a great place to start. However, your reporting is not great in Wave. I used Wave in my first year of business, and it was great until I really wanted to break it out to see like, well, what's my profitability for this service based on or compared to this service, or get into a little bit more specific data with projections. That was difficult, where Xero and QuickBooks can really provide that for you much more easily. You can also invoice through your scheduling software. So there's great scheduling software out there for entrepreneurs. Calendly and Acuity are two that are really common and come to mind, where you can set up where people sign up for your time or a course. They prepay, they get texts, reminders for when they're supposed to meet with you or show up, etc. You can embed things within it. They're pretty great. I have recommended Calendly for different customers who offer classes. It's a great service for that. And then there are so many customer relationship management softwares out there that I can't even begin to cover them. I won't even begin to say that I'm an expert in any of them. But what I would recommend is if you are considering customer relationship management software for your invoicing, look to your industry standard. You can go down some really deep rabbit holes for CRMs. But for example, creative service-based industries like web design and search engine optimization, or photographers tend to use Dubsado or Honeybook, right? Or so you could look into those two options for you and decide from the two instead of starting with everything. One drawback to these CRMs is they can get incredibly expensive. So my recommendation is it's worthwhile to speak with a CRM consultant or someone that can guide you, maybe even through SCORE, on the right recommendation for your specific situation. If you are techie, there's a site out there called AppSumo where you can buy systems for pennies on the dollar. It's a way that developers create different systems and then fund them is by sort of rolling them out or bankrolling through high volume, low cost sales of their products. So, for example, there is a lot of people have heard of those embeddable videos that you can put in emails. I bought a lifetime membership to one for $79 for WanderWeb. And so we can use that service forever. And instead of paying a monthly subscription fee, it works out really well for us. So those are just examples. And we wouldn't be WanderWeb because we specialize in search engine optimization if we didn't talk a little bit about it. Search engine optimization is the process of making your website easier for search engines and learn language models to understand what you offer and easily find you in a way that it appears higher in search results or gets recommended. I am sort of changing my language around search engine optimization because what we're finding now is what used to be 95% Google, we're seeing people shopping on TikTok a lot. We're seeing people shopping on Instagram a lot. We're seeing a lot of AI searches. So people are going right to systems like ChatGPT to do like, hey, this is the solution I'm trying to find. These are the considerations, doing a long tail query, right? And getting an answer through AI. And so I'm kind of changing our terminology. I don't know where the chips are all going to fall, but we've been looking at AI, planning for it to come for years here at WanderWeb. So I'm sort of terming it search optimization now, or search everywhere optimization instead of search engine optimization. Is AI a search engine? Sure. I'm just, I'm really not sure where all these chips are going to fall. So I'll give you my best recommendations on AI at the end of this presentation. So the first thing for search engine optimization that I'd recommend for you is just do good hygiene. Make sure your website is mobile friendly. People are searching and shopping mobile first these days, not on their desktop as much. The other thing that we really need to make sure are well written are your meta descriptions, which are the page descriptions for each page of your website. And each product. They should all be different and really clear on what the benefit is to the customer. So meta descriptions are those snippets that you see when you do a search where it comes up with the multiple pages or multiple products with a little description by it. It's typically like 140 characters and describe if they click, what they will be getting, right? Although Google says that they don't use meta descriptions for their search engine optimization, it is something that the people reading the options will be looking at and deciding based upon. So it is important for getting your clicks. The other hygiene that I would recommend for your website is make sure that you have alt text for your images. And if you've ever heard me speak about alt text, we have a really great blog about it and how different images can be tagged differently based upon the way they're described. So what I would say is make sure in your descriptions that you're clearly describing what the image is. If the image is just a filler image and it doesn't have a purpose, you don't need to do a description. If anything, you could write in the alt text NUL for null, and it just means Google doesn't need to index it in the same way. And what I mean by Google indexing it is reading all the content on your website and absorbing it and putting it in their library. Claim your Google business profile. If you do not have a Google business profile and you have a physical location or business, someone has probably created that for you. And what's on there is what Google thinks is the right thing. So if you've not gone in, claimed it, and optimized it, there are lots of webinars and education online. We've provided some on how to optimize your Google business profile, but making sure that you've claimed it as the owner and you've categorized your business correctly with your primary and secondary categories is probably the most important thing you could do to get found if you're looking to be found locally. That will also flow over to Google Maps. And so it's those near me searches or people going onto Maps and searching for like the best, um, best bookstore near me or something like that. And so claiming your Google business profile has multiple benefits. The other recommendation we have to optimize your site for search is getting reviews. These are the secret sauce of selling online. Reviews build trust, credibility, give shoppers the confidence. Shoppers will read a review and trust it almost as much as if a family member gave them that feedback. Search engines love them too. Fresh reviews help improve your search and get your product seen because search engines really like them. So feedback from real customers gives insight too into what is working and what's not. And so you can look at that and see what you need to do to improve or change in your business as well. Love reviews. You can't have enough of them. Get found with Google Merchant Center. So Google Merchant Center is the way that your products show when someone is typing or searching shop on Google. So I do recommend that you create a Google Merchant account. These are things that we do for our SEO clients for them automatically. We create a Google Merchant account so their products appear on Google for sale. And then it also optimizes your feed for better visibility and higher clicks. So these are some of the things, if you're setting yourself up on Google Merchant Center, you need to do on your root site or your website for the source data that Google Merchant will capture. The first is make sure that your product titles include keyword and details. So for example, we work with a baby clothing brand that has bamboo baby clothing. So we will very mindfully name like bamboo romper toddler, right? In the name of the product. The descriptions, we make sure you've got really clear benefit-driven copy. So that's the description for the product itself on your website. And the other thing we recommend is using clean, high-quality images. If you invest in nothing in your business, my advice to you is invest in images. This is, people buy with their eyes, they eat with their eyes, and dark, poor quality images are just not going to move the needle for you. I highly recommend that you invest in a brand photographer. You won't regret it. You can use those images over and over and over again in your social media profiles, on your website, in your pamphlets, in your flyers, on your receipts. It's so worth it. My recommendation, and we do not do branding here at WonderWeb, but I do recommend that businesses do get professional images. We refuse to work with companies that want us to create websites without professional images. We do require that because it is so important. The other thing is categorizing and attributing your products correctly. So in your sort and filter functions, making sure that they're attributed in a way that is easy to sort and filter. So going back to that children's clothing, like infant, toddler, baby, like school age, categorizing those correctly, as well as then like rompers, onesies, booties, right? I don't know, but categorizing things are a huge priority. Here is, I'll include it, I'll send it to Jasper. It's a checklist that you can use for your website just to make sure that you're dotting all your T's and crossing all your I's. If you don't have these things on your website, I do recommend that, that you do include them. So this checklist will be pretty beneficial to you, super easy to create, to do all of these things really. And if you do need help or guidance, there are people that can take over your website for you, like WonderWeb, or you can work with your score mentor to get some guidance. The other thing you could do is just do a consultation with a marketing expert. If you're a DIYer, there's lots of options out there for you to make sure that you're doing things well and in a way that will help your business grow. So with that in mind, what questions do you have?
Okay, great time to throw them in the chat. Uh, Thank you already for a great presentation, Corey. I think it's a really important topic for anyone that's trying to, dip their foot into selling their business, their product or service online.
Mm.
Like we said earlier, feel free to throw them in the chat if you have any questions, or utilize the raise hand function, and we can have you come off of mute. I do want to remind everyone that we were recording today, so if you missed anything, that will be sent out once it's available to me and posted on our YouTube channel, which also includes a wide variety of other recorded workshops, including some of Corey's other search engine optimization workshops that we've run, as well as, like I said, many other topics such as your business plan, funding, cash flow, and more. Jeff says no questions, but thank you for an informative session. And Tisha says great to see you and is heading to the next meeting.
Take care, Tisha. Thanks, Jeff.
Well, in any case, if there aren't any, I will be including contact information for Corey if you think of any after the fact. It's also a topic that a SCORE mentor can help you with. If you're not signed up with the SCORE mentor already and you're here at a workshop, it's just as free as attending today. You just head to the front page of score.org and enter your zip code and a brief bit of information about your business. If you're, again, not familiar with us, SCORE offers free confidential one-on-one mentoring. And we're a nonprofit partner of the SBA with chapters all across the country. So if there's a question and you're located here in Maine that can't necessarily be served by one of our mentors here, there's someone across the country that definitely can help you out. And just to plug ourselves a little bit more, we helped start 560 businesses here in the state of Maine alone last year. And keep your eyes peeled for a message from me. I'll be Jasper from SCORE. That will include the link to the recording today, a copy of the slides, the checklist that Corey mentioned. And again, if you have any questions that you think of after the fact, some contact information for her. Otherwise, I want to thank everyone for attending today. I want to thank Corey for another great presentation. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in.